share about the next few? Because
Well, I have to say positively
Mhm.
for myself, I was definitely insecure attachment in my last long-term relationship, but he was in and out of anxious and avoidant. So I remember feeling really um uncomfortable because I'd be aware of it and I'm like, oh, he's doing the avoidant thing again. Okay, don't get triggered. And I'd have to like talk to myself. And then I'd be like, oh, now he's coming forward because I pulled back and he's doing anxious. All right, don't get triggered. So it was like tough to be in a secure attachment and keep in awareness while being with someone that was in and out of those, you know?
It sounds like you're in the anxious energy, which is kind of the next one we're going to get into here. But
I
yeah.
wasn't in it. He was in it,
Oh,
but
I
let's
got
get
you.
into it. Let's get
So
into it.
the anxious ones, so in the anxious ones, you get some of the things. You get the fear of abandonment, the constantly seeking reassurance, very emotionally sensitive, intense emotional responses to anything that triggers them, very deep dependence on the relationship, like that enmeshment, like constantly want to be on
Give
top
an
of this person.
example. Give an example so it's understand, like it's easily understood.
Dependency on the relationship would be like, this is the person you start dating, and then they have to be around you 24/7. If you're like, oh, I'm gonna go grab a drink with the guys after work, well, who you going with, where you going, how long you going to be, what time you're going to be done, like they're just constantly insecure or anxious about where you're at, who you're with. Oh, he's going to leave me. Oh, he's out with another girl. Oh, they're going to go and do something, and like I don't know what he's doing, and I'm like, now I'm going to sit here and stress about where he is, who he's with, what the
That's super overwhelming, the energy, super
right.
overwhelming.
But could you imagine being the person that's the anxious person on that end and just sitting at home, and you can't, and you don't even know why you're stressing about this nice person that you're dating, and you know that deep down that they're probably just going to go out and have a beer for an hour with his friends, and or an hour or two, and get some chicken wings or something, but they're just sitting in their own head, like you said, other people like, oh, why hasn't he texted me? He didn't text you because he told you he's out having a beer with his friends and he's talking with them. That's
And
healthy.
if I was doing relationship coaching with someone, I would say, get up and go to the fucking gym and do your own thing because
Yeah.
then you pull your energy back and you are in your own energy, then they're most likely not going to go into avoidant. But if you stay in the anxious energy that you're talking about, you're going to push the person away immediately.
Yup.
Immediately, they're going to feel it, even if they're
Because they
not even.
have that dependency on the relationship, and a lot of it has to do with,
It's unattractive too, like
it
when you're
is,
in
but a
that
lot of it
energy.
is past experiences. It's inconsistent caregivers or childhood
Mhm.
traumas, and they have that lack of trust in a person that you're in a relationship with or you're in love with, because your parent was inconsistent, because a family member beat you, molested you, I don't know, something, they were an
It's
alcoholic.
trauma.
Yeah,
It's
trauma. So they were, super
unresolved trauma.
inconsistent, and
Mhm.
that's what transposes to when you're adult. And like you have to work on it. You have to do some type of therapy if you're
And
really, really bad on that. I mean, you can
the
go,
main
everybody can
point
get that
is,
way.
and also the anxiousness is the originating from not worrying that you're not going to get love from something outside of you. And then when you start to do the work and you realize the love is already in you
Hmm.
and we don't need to seek it outside, that's when things start to move and heal and you can start to kind of, get out of that place of anxiousness, right?
Like
And
being comfortable in your own skin. If you're not comfortable in your own skin, or you're not comfortable with yourself, or being alone with yourself, you're not going to get that from another person.
right, but can you give an example, or do you want me to give an example about being in relationship and how it comes up, and that's how we have a chance to look at everything
Yeah,
and
go ahead.
and
Scott.
so yeah, like realizing you're in the anxious energy is it's going to come up in a relationship. You're going to end up with an avoidant. They're going to trigger you. You're going to start, oh my God, all the things that you mentioned, this is happening. I don't feel, comfortable with this. And then the person's not going to stay with you. They're going to get sick of it. It's just going to push them away eventually. And that's when it comes up and you have to do the work and look at why this keeps happening in each relationship. And until you look at it, it'll keep happening. They'll just keep sending it to you. The universe will keep sending it to you. The energy will keep attracting the avoidant in. And so most 9 times out of 10, we have to look at our first love relationship and heal that, the trauma, like you mentioned,
Mhm.
and figure out what's missing inside so that we're not constantly looking for that in another person. Because, as I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, but we attract what we are and where we're at,
Mhm.
not what we want.
So I was always avoidant type from my own traumas, like my own abandonment stuff. Like my parents got divorced when I was almost 20, and I was always like, yeah, it didn't affect me, but it did, you know. My mom was the one that wasn't happy, and she had her reasons, and they were valid, and we're good. We talked about it. But the way things went down, and I'm always in, any relationships I was in, I was always like, things were good, they were cool, I was happy, and then anything started getting weird or any issues came up, or I dated some anxious women, any
Mm,
of that type of energy, like,
mm.
I'm
What'd
gone,
you do?
I'm
You'd run
gone, I'm
away?
out, I'm
Mm,
not dealing with this, I'm out.
mm,
Or
mm.
anytime things were really good, really good, really good, and then maybe it was like an avoidant type person, they started distancing themselves, I'm out of here before they leave me, see ya, bye, I'm gone, not dealing with it. And I didn't realize that for years, but when I dated a few anxious women, and you get the intense emotional responses, jealousy, they freak out over the smallest things. They just get super emotionally overwhelmed, and that leads to conflicts, arguments, dramatic arguments over minuscule tiny shit that's like, I was like, what the fuck is such a big deal? And this person is freaking out and just like going nuts. And it's like, okay. And
Do you
then,
run? Do you
no, I
just
mean,
run?
I would try to like logic and be reasonable, and like, it would calm down. I mean, these people also can be apologetic, and they can hold, like, there is no shoebox that you can put all these in. These are just characteristics. So maybe this person has done a little work, or they can take accountability. So I have one person that there would be these emotional outbursts over nothing or for no reason constantly. And then the next day, I'm so sorry. I apologize. I had too much to drink, or I was triggered by this, and I'm sorry, it won't happen again. And then a week later, it happens again. And then they apologize and they own it, and they're very, understanding about it, and say they're going to work on it. And you're like, okay. And you kind of have a plan there. And then a week later, it happens again. And it's just this
So what's
repeating
that?
pattern.
What's that called?
Insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome.
No,
I call it.
it's a cycle
Yes.
that we run. It's a program that we run in our minds. So that person was running a program that they probably started when they were young, that
Mhm.
maybe their, mother or father acted a certain way. And every time they wanted something, they'd have an emotional reaction. Maybe they'd get it from the parent. Maybe they'd get whatever they were having
Yep.
the reaction. Some people, maybe it's a temper tantrum originally when they were young. And then as they get older, they just have like an adult tantrum, whether it's crying, being super dramatic.
Yeah, that's that
uh,
high emotional sensitivity. Like any little thing that sometimes I didn't even realize what it was that was triggering them, but they also didn't communicate that, hey, if you don't text me back for an hour, it's going to trigger me. Or, you get the constantly seeking reassurance, where I had a person that would text me like 5,000 times a day, and then would get annoyed if I didn't answer them back within 15 minutes. I'm like, dude, I'm
mm,
at work. Like, I'll talk to you later, but like, from 9 to 5, like, I don't mind. You want to, shoot me a text, and if I can get back to you in like a little bit, whatever. But 5,000 texts a day is not okay.
no,
Like,
it's super like unattractive and
yes,
uncomfortable because I've had it done to me.
yeah.
I've had scales of people sending me constant texts, and it's like, you wait for an answer.
Well, that's that constantly need for reassurance. Like you said, they get in your own head. Why aren't they replying? What are they doing? Like, they're at
Hmm.
work, they're busy, they can't answer you right now.
And
Uh,
then let's talk about a step further. People are like, oh, why do I get blocked for no reason? Or why does this person ghost me? Well, there's probably a reason. Because if you keep texting someone, if someone kept texting me and I didn't want to talk to them, or they pushed me away or something, and I
mhm.
said, like, I'll get back to you, and they don't take that as an answer, well, then yeah, you're gonna get fucking blocked. Because someone's communicating something and you're not getting the the hint too, you
So
know?
I had to set that boundary with someone I was dating, um, you know, um, the behavior just wasn't changing and it wasn't working out towards the end. And I just, wasn't responding, to texts. And they just went off on me like
Mm,
2 or 3 times. And finally, you know, I had done a lot of work at this point, so I was in a better place. But I was, they weren't getting the hint, and they were like, "I just saw you online on Instagram, and I text you. I know you're holding your phone," and I just responded like, "Hey, you know, I'm
that's
fine.
spying.
I'm fine, and this isn't healthy behavior. It's not healthy for either one of us. You know what I mean? Like, just I'm fine." And da da da. And they're like, "Well, I'm sorry. I was just, triggered because I was being ignored," or da da da. I'm like, okay, but you know,
Right, and if they would have sat in their energy and pulled it back, right?
we had had
And
all kinds of discussions about this at
but
this point. Yeah.
just in
Yes.
general, to
Yes.
help people, if they're to help people right now, if they're in a relationship, wherever it is, and you feel yourself always going forward and the other person's pulling back, you have to pull your energy back and get back to center and stop going towards them, whether it's in your mind, because they're going to pick up on it regardless, you know?
Well,
And
that's the
when you,
ghosting thing with somebody that's anxious. They're going to have that fear of abandonment, and they're just going to keep push, 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 push. And that's not healthy behavior. And, at the core of it, there's a reason that you're anxious. There's a reason that you're behaving that way. And until you address that underlying reason, the trauma, whatever the hell it is, all your relationships are going to go in that cycle, just like you said.
yeah. And even while you're addressing it, like you still might get triggered. And just a quick coaching session, like if you feel yourself going towards someone a lot and you start to feel something and you're getting anxious in your stomach, whatever, pull back and get back to center and be aware, meditate, whatever you got to do, go take a walk, do make plans, do something. As soon as you get back into your energy, if you're meant to be in relationship with this person, they'll come back in. The energy will mellow out
Mm-hmm.
and you'll draw them back in, because it can happen with people that are in love that are soulmates. They'll be fine, and then one person starts going forward too much and it's doing this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it, just a little coaching thing that,
Like we said earlier, people can't see it in themselves, but these type of people too, they often have,
well, I've done it. I've done it.
relationship, like they have constant relationship dissatisfaction, a constant conflict in relationship, or constantly arguing in their relationships because of the constant need for reassurance, for that constant fear that they're going to be abandoned, even if the person's like, "I love you, I'm not going anywhere, I want to be here," and you just keep pushing them away, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And these people need to work on, it's low self-esteem. Maybe they're abused, verbally abused by a parent, so they have very low self-esteem that causes this. And that's emotional regulation and things like that. But a lot of these things, like if it's a super anxious person, it's not just a little bit, everybody's a little bit insecure sometimes. I get that. But when it's like
I've been in
extreme,
anxious energy. I can say 100% I've sat in anxious energy and my self-esteem has been pretty decent. But
uh,
if I end up if I end up with someone that's avoidant, I'm gonna get triggered. I'm gonna be like, what the fuck is going on? And I'm not insecure, but something in me is gonna get triggered from an old wound. You can be a 10 out of 10 and sit in anxious energy and get rejected. So
true. No, like I said, none of this stuff just fits into one box. It's just
no.
these are like kind of frameworks where you're going to see these traits a lot. But yeah, you can have some other things thrown in there.
And
But
also it depends on who you're relating to,
yeah.
where their energy is sitting,
Mhm.
where they're at in their healing process, because for you, like yours, when you're in a relationship, you're getting triggered from something, someone else is getting triggered from something else. And the main thing is to keep working on yourselves inside.